had an amended copy handed out on January 8th.
You may have had that handed out, but you had the original one. That
Yes,
already
correct.
You already had the language with it, and the reading on the 8th was just on the original ordinance.
All right, thank you very much. Now I'm no longer confused. Thank you.
It's a confusing.
Madam President.
It's confusing. I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second for Mr. Popper? Okay. Any discussion on the declaring of an emergency? Or retaining that clause?
Something like that.
Yes.
Yes, the reason we're waiving, or retaining the emergency clause is because there's language in here that makes this retroactive to January 1st. The sooner it can become active, the better it is for all parties concerned, both people.
Okay, would the clerk please call the roll?
Nicole DeFreitas.
Yes.
Mark Hopper.
Yes.
Mike Snyder.
Yes.
Ron Ackerman.
Yes.
Kathy Brown.
Yes.
Randy Lipstraw.
Yes.
Thank you. The emergency clause has been retained. Does council wish to take any further action on ordinance 42-12? Mr. Snyder.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt 4212.
I have a motion to adopt ordinance 42-12. Do I have a second?
Second, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Poplar. Any discussion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Randy Lipstraw.
Yes.
Ron Ackerman.
Yes.
Kathy Brown.
Yes.
Mike Snyder.
Yes.
Mark Hopper.
Yes.
And Nicole DeFreitas.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 42-12 is passed. Would the clerk please read by title and summary only ordinance 43-12?
Ordinance 43-12. An ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Safety and Service to advertise for bids and enter into a contract for a project to modernize and make more efficient the Jet Express terminal facility operated by the Clinton Bay Boat Line Company, all in accordance with the LPA Federal Local LET project agreement between the Ohio Department of Transportation and the city and declaring an emergency.
Does council wish to take any action this evening on ordinance 43-12? Mr. Snyder.
Make a motion that we retain the emergency clause.
I have a motion to retain the emergency clause in ordinance 43-12. Do I have a second?
I'd like to second that motion, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Ackerman. Any discussion on the retaining of the clause? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Deborah Baker. Kathy Mel.
Yes.
Ron Ackerman.
Yes.
Mike Snyder.
Yes.
Mark Hopper.
Yes.
Randy Lipstraw.
Yes.
And Nicole DeFreitas.
Yes.
Thank you. The emergency clause will be retained. Does council wish to take any further action on ordinance 43-12? Mrs. Miller.
Move that we adopt ordinance 43-12.
I have a motion to adopt ordinance 43-12. Do I have a second?
Second, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Poplar. Any discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Ron Ackerman.
Yes.
Kathy Mel.
Yes.
Mike Snyder.
Yes.
Mark Hopper.
Yes.
Nicole DeFreitas.
Yes.
Randy Lipstraw.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 43-12 is passed. Would the clerk please read by title and summary only ordinance 45-12?
Ordinance 45-12. An ordinance amending chapter 719 of the codified ordinance of the city of Port Clinton regulating street and sidewalk vendors and declaring an emergency.
Does council wish to take any action this evening on ordinance 45-12? Mrs. Mel.
I move that we retain the emergency clause in 45-12.
Thank you. I have a motion to retain the emergency clause in ordinance 45-12. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Lipstraw. Any discussion?
I just want to say that we discussed that in laws, rules, and ordinances, and we made it was an existing ordinance, and we just made it more business friendly. We did talk about a vendor downtown with merchants. They were in favor of what we did, and we've been working on it for about a year, but we're satisfied, I think, with the results. So I would hope that we can pass that this evening.
Thank you. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Kathy Mel.
Yes.
Ron Ackerman.
Yes.
Nicole DeFreitas.
Yes.
Randy Lipstraw.
Yes.
Mike Snyder.
Yes.
Mark Hopper.
Yes.
Thank you. The emergency clause has been retained. Does council wish to take any further action on ordinance 45-12? Mrs. Mel.
I would like to move that we adopt 45-12.
I have a motion to adopt ordinance 45-12. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Lipstraw. Any discussion? I know this has been a long time coming. We've done a lot of work with the police department. I just want to thank the Laws, Rules, and Ordinance Committee for their work on this and get it done.
And also the police department.
And the police department, so that
Thank you.
we can get this in place before
Summer.
summer. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mike Snyder,
Yes.
Mark Hopper,
Yes.
Ron Ackerman,
Yes.
Kathy Mel,
Yes.
Nicole DeFreitas,
Yes.
Randy Lipstraw.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 45-12 is passed. We will now go to second readings of ordinances and resolutions. Would the clerk please read by title and summary only? Ordinance 01-13.
Ordinance 01-13. An ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Safety and Service to submit a grant proposal through the Clean Ohio Fund Recreational Trails Program for construction of the Lakefront Preserve Trail and declaring an emergency.
Does council wish to take any action this evening on ordinance 01-13? Mr. Ackerman.
Madam President, I would like to waive the 3 required readings on ordinance 01-13, per the mayor's request.
I have a motion to waive the 3 required readings on ordinance 01-13. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Lipstraw. Any discussion on the waiving of the readings? This is a time-sensitive issue. I think the proposal needs to be in February 1st, so. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Nicole DeFreitas,
Yes.
Mark Hopper,
Yes.
Kathy Mel,
Yes.
Ron Ackerman,
Yes.
Randy Lipstraw,
Yes.
Mike Snyder.
Yes.
Thank you. Does council wish to take any further action on ordinance 01-13? Mr. Ackerman.
Madam President, I would like to retain the emergency clause on ordinance 01-13.
I have a motion to retain the emergency clause on ordinance 01-13. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Madam President.
Thank you, Ms. Mel. Any discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Ron Ackerman,
Yes.
Nicole DeFreitas,
Yes.
Kathy Mel,
Yes.
Mark Hopper,
Yes.
Randy Lipstraw,
Yes.
and Mike Snyder.
Yes.
Thank you. The emergency clause has been retained. Does council wish to take any further action on ordinance 01-13? Mr. Lipstraw.
Make a motion, we adopt ordinance 01-13.
I have a motion to adopt ordinance 01-13. Do I have a second?
Second, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Any discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mike Snyder,
Yes.
Mark Hopper,
Yes.
Randy Lipstraw,
Yes.
Ron Ackerman,
Yes.
Nicole DeFreitas,
Yes.
and Kathy Mel.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 01-13 has passed. And I would just like to personally thank everybody for voting yes on this. It's all part of the big plan for the, for the Lakefront Preserve. And I think after we do the trails, then we're going to start on wetlands restoration. So I think it's a big picture project, and I'm glad seriously something. Would the clerk please read by title ordinance 02-13?
Ordinance 02-13. An ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Safety and Service to issue requests for qualifications and enter into an agreement for construction management services for the Jet Express Terminal Facility project and declaring an emergency.
Does council wish to take any action this evening on ordinance 02-13? Mr. Snyder.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion that we waive the 3 required readings.
I have a motion to waive the 3 required readings on ordinance 02-13. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Madam President.
Thank you, Ms. Mel. Any discussion on the waiving of the readings? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Kathy Mel,
Yes.
Mark Hopper,
Yes.
Mike Snyder,
Yes.
Ron Ackerman,
Yes.
Nicole DeFreitas,
Yes.
Mark Hopper.
Yes.
Yeah, you must have missed somebody.
Randy Lipstraw,
Yes.
That's okay.
I'm throwing at you tonight.
Put it on here.
Does council wish to take any further action on ordinance 02-13? Mr. Snyder.
I'd like to make a motion that we retain the emergency clause.
I have a motion to retain the emergency clause on ordinance 02-13. Do I have a second?
Second, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Cochran. Any discussion on retaining of the clause? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Nicole DeFreitas,
Yes.
Randy Lipstraw,
Yes.
Mark Hopler,
Yes.
Mike Snyder,
Yes.
Kathy Mel,
Yes.
Ron Ackerman.
Yes.
Thank you. We've retained the emergency clause. Does council wish to take any further action on ordinance 02-13? Mr. Lipstraw.
Make a motion we adopt ordinance 02-13.
I have a motion to adopt ordinance 02-13. Do I have a second, Mr.
I'll second it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mrs. DeFreitas. Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Ron Ackerman,
Yes.
Nicole DeFreitas,
Yes.
Randy Lipstraw,
Yes.
Kathy Mel,
Yes.
Mike Snyder,
Yes.
Mark Hopler.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 02-13 has passed. Would the clerk please read by title and summary only ordinance 03-13?
Ordinance 03-13, an ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Safety and Service to enter into an agreement for design engineering services for the 2nd Street ODOT Small City Grant Project and declaring an emergency.
Does council wish to take any action this evening on ordinance 03-13? Mr. Snyder.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we waive the 3 required readings on the ordinance.
I have a motion to waive the 3 required readings on ordinance 03-13. Can I have a second, Mr. Ackerman?
Yes, Madam President, I would like to second that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion on the waiving of the readings? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Ron Ackerman,
Yes.
Kathy Mel,
Yes.
Mike Snyder,
Yes.
Mark Hopler,
Yes.
Randy Lipstraw,
Yes.
Nicole DeFreitas.
Yes.
Thank you. Does council wish to take any further action on ordinance 03-13? Mrs. DeFreitas.
What? I'm sorry. Oh, I'd like to make a motion to retain the emergency clause.
I have a motion to retain the emergency clause in ordinance 03-13. Do I have a second, Mr. Lipstraw?
Second.
Any discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Nicole DeFreitas,
Yes.
Ron Ackerman,
Yes.
Mark Hopler,
Yes.
Mike Snyder,
Yes.
Randy Lipstraw,
Yes.
Kathy Mel.
Yes.
Thank you. We retain the emergency clause. Would like to take any further, would council like to take any further action on ordinance 03-13? Mr. Snyder.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the ordinance.
I have a motion to adopt ordinance 03-13. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Lipstraw. Any discussion? Mr. Cochran.
Madam President, could we have a little more information as to what all this is going to entail? On design services?
Mr. Colson, Mr.
For the 2nd Street, this is to take care of the design work, the engineering services. Basically, is dealing with all the infrastructure, as far as sewer separation. It also includes the streets, the curbs, and the sidewalks, all downtown on 2nd Street between Monroe and Jefferson.
Any
And
other,
this is time sensitive.
any other discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Kathy Mel,
Yes.
Mike Snyder,
Yes.
Ron Ackerman,
Yes.
Mark Hopler,
Yes.
Randy Lipstraw,
Yes.
and Nicole DeFreitas.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 03-13 has passed. Would the clerk please read by title and summary ordinance 04-13?
Ordinance 04-13, an ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Safety and Service to issue requests for qualifications and enter into an agreement for construction management services and declaring an emergency.
Does council wish to take any action this evening on ordinance 04-13? Seeing none, we will move that to, is it? Did you want that?
Yeah, if I could, can I speak on that?
Yes.
If it's all right with you. This project is also time sensitive due to the agreements of construction. So we definitely need to move forward on this. This is part of the 6th Street project.
Does council wish to take any action on ordinance 04-13? Mr. Snyder.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion that we waive the 3 required readings.
I have a motion to waive the 3 required readings on ordinance 04-13. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Littstraw. Any discussion on the waiving of the readings? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Nicole Freitas.
Yes.
Kathy Mel.
Yes.
Mark Snyder, or Mike Snyder.
Yes.
Mark Hopler.
Yes.
Ron Ackerman.
Yes.
Randy Lipstraw.
Yeah.
Thank you. Does council wish to take any further action on 04-13? Mr. Littstraw.
Make a motion, we retain the emergency clause on 04-13.
I have a motion to retain the emergency clause on 04-13. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Coppler. Any discussion on the retaining of the clause? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Ron Ackerman.
Yes.
Nicole Freitas.
Yes.
Mike Snyder.
Yes.
Kathy Mel.
Yes.
Mark Hopler.
Yes.
Randy Lipstraw.
Yeah.
Thank you. The clause has been retained. Does council wish to take any further action on ordinance 04-13? Mr. Snyder.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the ordinance.
I have a motion to adopt ordinance 04-13. Have a second, Mr. Austin.
Madam President, I'd like to second that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll? Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. I guess I just got a couple questions on this. Obviously, it's a agreement to have someone, I guess, oversee the project. Is that for the city, in the cities?
Yeah, this is construction management. All the monies have already been allocated, council voted to move forward on the 6th Street project. But we feel as though, obviously we're going to offer qualification for different engineering firms to actually handle the actual construction management of the project, to make sure that it's constructed properly in accordance to the engineering specs.
Okay, the engineering costs, then, the cost of this, are they already accounted for, or do we have to put it, to have this firm check out
The
these?
construction management costs
Yeah.
are already
Okay.
Any further discussion? Mr.
I was just going to add that the engineer cannot oversee the project. That's why we have to get somebody else. In certain projects, you can have the same group do it. In this project, you cannot. So,
The ODOT requirements require, again,
Correct.
that
ODOT requirements.
ODOT reimburses part of the cost.